Hey there, welcome to the Gyro Step, a Milwaukee Bucks podcast, proudly a part of the Gyro Step Podcast Network and the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I am Ty Windisch, one of your hosts. I am joined as always by the now somber Rohan Katti. Rohan, how's it going?
Doing all right. We have an emergency pod to do, Ty.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie to you, not the one I was hoping when I saw Tim Bontemps tweet alert, because Woj retweeted it. So I guess that's shade at Tim Bontemps, I guess. I don't have his alerts on. Sorry, Timmy Goodtimes. But I see Milwaukee Bucks All-Star Khris Middleton, and I think yesterday was the first day he could sign an extension, I believe, according to Bobby Marks at one point in his offseason primer. So here I was going, oh, they got it done. This will be great. I'm so excited. And then I opened the tweet, and it's Khris Middleton underwent wrist surgery sometime in early July, so in the last 2 weeks here, a little less than 2 weeks, to address a torn ligament. We don't know what ligament yet, a torn ligament in his left wrist. So we will get into Chris's wrist injury. It was actually bothering him late in the regular season, although he came back and played. This is not the injury that ruled him out of the playoffs. That was a different injury that John Horst told us is all good. Hopefully that is true. But Rohan, your initial reaction as our resident adjacent to doctors person on Chris's diagnosis here.
It's hard to tell without knowing specifics. The one thing I do know is that this Bucks organization is not going to give us specifics, as we've seen, as you've all heard me talk about in the past with guys like Brook Lopez, their injuries, George Hill, whatever. It's not time to dwell on that. But without knowing specifics, it's hard to tell because the wrist is a very complicated sort of tunnel per se, because there's so much stuff going in your wrist. There's so many ligaments, blood vessels, tendons, nerves, whatever you want to do. It's all sort of funneling in there. So without knowing specifics, it's hard to tell what sort of actions are really impacted, how severe it is, what the recovery time will be, what sort of how does it impact his ability to play basketball. It is his left hand, so it is his offhand, which is a little bit better. But you still need to be able to use your left hand if you're Khris Middleton. So initially, I'm just a little trepidatious about it, considering that the report.
I was going to say I buried the lead. We have a timeline, so you can go ahead and share that.
Oh, by the way, good job. I guess not officially Bucks, but someone within the Bucks, I guess, for giving a timeline.
True.
They said near the start of the regular season for Khris Middleton. He's expected to return around the start of the regular season. That's a little while away, Ty.
Yeah, so it is currently July 12th as we are recording. The regular season, I guess I can pull up the date, but regular times, which
late October.
Late October, yeah. We're kind of back. I guess we're pretending we're in regular times, at least the NBA is, which late October. So what is that, 3 months?
Yeah.
3 months and change, basically. So like
around 3 months,
14 weeks, 12 to 14 weeks or more, potentially. The way this is framed, I would not be surprised if he missed regular season time. And honestly, that is preferred to trying to rush him back for the start of the regular season. I mean, clearly, we saw with Brook Lopez, as frustrating as the lack of transparency was, that side of things, I think you could argue was bungled or at least just unnecessarily cloudy from the Bucks. The actual management of the injury itself was flawless. Brook came back and looked exceptional. I think clearly, for how much heartburn, and we've both already been tagged, so I should find whoever tagged us and give them credit for it. Because somebody already said we're going to have heartburn about the
at Bango Burner.
Shout out Bango Burner, who knows that, especially you, but me as well, get fed up with the lack of clarity on this. That is true and fair, and we'll see. I'm sure the Bucks will have a release at some point in the coming weeks now about this. You'd hope. Maybe they'll give us more info then. It's certainly not guaranteed. I will say they at least did with Pat, and they were pretty spot on with Pat, although it took a little longer than they said. But at least we know, given the Brook example, the Pat Connaughton example, like lately, right now, this medical staff is doing good work in making sure players are fully healthy. And the Bucks basically kept Brook out so long last season that I'm sure if it costs a week into the season, 2 weeks into the season without Khris, they're not rushing him back just to start a season. It doesn't matter. It's great to win games. I hope the Bucks are much healthier this year, but in the grand scheme of things, 1 week of games in October does not matter. So I guess that's the one thing I'm comforted by is I'm not worried that Khris will be rushed back, although it is certainly concerning that this is a 3-month injury post-surgery, given if it's the same one, he played on it. So in March, Khris missed games against the Bulls and Wizards March 22nd and 24th with quote-unquote left wrist soreness. He then came back on March 26th. So again, was out just a couple of days with that he didn't play at all. And for the rest of the season, I did find this interesting. The rest of the regular season, Khris shot 40% from the field and 31% from three for the rest of that season. And I do wonder, is there some relation there? Was that wrist continuing to bother him? As you said, it's his offhand, but you still never know how that could impact a shooting motion. Obviously, we only get 2 games of playoffs data. In one game, Khris shoots very poorly, and one he shoots very well. So hard to say there. But it's interesting to think about if that did have some impact on him late in the season. But he only missed 1 game or 2 games the rest of the regular season after returning. Both of them were Bucks punt games against the Clippers and the Cavs, where basically nobody played for Milwaukee. So again, you would think he wouldn't have played all but 2 games if it was really bothering him. It's just interesting how this just kind of more or less came out of nowhere outside of some cast rumors people tweeted about.
Yeah, and it's not like an uncommon thing for us to see players, especially late in the season, play through injury and then get surgery over the summer and stuff like that. Or some players choose not to get surgery altogether. Unless you're Scottie Pippen, you don't want to F up your summer. But
or Shaq.
Yeah, or Shaq.
You want to recover on company time.
I mean, more power to you.
I wish, it's shout out to Shaq.
But yeah, it's not like an uncommon thing for us to see players get surgery into the season. It's a little surprising that it's this late.
Yeah, the Bucks haven't played a game in nearly 2 months. Khris hasn't played a game since 4/20.
Yeah, it's been almost 3 months for Khris Middleton.
Yeah.
So it's a little surprising. Maybe they just wanted to make sure his left knee was all good first before you move on to a different injury. Don't want to do like 2 separate rehabs at once. Maybe that's just pure speculation on my part.
Could this have been, were they trying to see if it would, I think like they did with Brook last year, like he didn't get surgery right away. Maybe they were hoping surgery wouldn't be necessary and it ended up did being necessary after all. Yeah,
it could be. It definitely could be. Again, we don't know the specifics of it, but that's definitely an option. It's just, well, first and foremost, Khris, get well soon.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate. You don't want to see Khris missing games, especially this long. I will say one thing you could interpret this report as being is that saying he's expected to be back by the start of the regular season could mean potentially he'll be back way before then.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very vague... When you're talking about this long of an amount of time with no games or anything for Khris, it feels like there could be a lot of stretchiness in that. I mean, hopefully that's the optimistic side of it, right? For sure. You're right. Just the wording of the report near the start of the regular season does imply it could be either side of that. So maybe he misses Novik, which would be awesome if he's back and ready to go.
For sure. We want health for the Bucks. And just people in general. Wild concept.
Yeah. Especially, I will say, though, you'd rather miss him. If he has to miss a week at the start of the season, that's certainly preferred than missing a week at the start of the playoffs or at the crunch time in the regular season. So I guess, if you're going to address it, it is weird. I agree. Like, why not address it a little earlier? Get this done in June and then
or
maybe
at least
for sure be ready.
At least they're doing it in the off season in general.
That's
like maybe they could have waited longer. Like Khris misses time during the regular season, like guaranteed. Like he has surgery in the regular season.
Yeah.
That could have happened as well.
That's true.
So I think this could be like the perfect sweet spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Try and see if you can get through it without surgery, but then go, okay, we'll do it now or whenever. And it wasn't recently, so early July. But we'll ensure that if you do miss time, it's very minimal. It's true. I think in terms of timing for something like this, it doesn't get a whole lot better than this.
No, it really doesn't. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what this really means. Let's say the Bucks do miss, or Khris does miss the start of the regular season. What do you think happens?
Well, what's fascinating now is, I mean, we have not settled internally at GSPN. This will be a pod topic at some point. Who should start the two to start the year, right? Like that's still at least a little bit up for debate. And now let's just say a week, not long term, but the first week of the season. But let's ignore matchups. Let's just say in a vacuum, what should the starting five be for that week? If there could not be a better is not the right word, maybe like a bigger opportunity on a team this loaded for a rookie than this for MarJon Beauchamp with Joe Ingles.
Say AJ Green.
No, I was not after the last game that we watched on playback. I was not going to say AJ Green. Lindell, I'm a Lindell two-way truther now. But no, for MarJon Beauchamp, with Joe Ingles not playing until December, Khris, again, in this hypothetical, we're assuming misses a week. So just there's going to be playing time there. It also does feel to me like the Bucks they kind of like Pat Connaughton as a super six, not a super sixth man, but as like a bench guy, a reserve player to come in and play with second units. He could well start, I think, especially with two spots sort of up for grabs. That's certainly possible. But I think one of Grayson Allen or Wes Matthews, and maybe it will be Grayson Allen with Khris out. We've seen Grayson have some success without Khris pre-Boston series. Are you looking at Drew, Grayson, MarJon Beauchamp, Giannis, and Brook Lopez?
You could.
I mean, it's not. A lot of this, I'm sure, will depend on preseason and a little bit the rest of Summer League and just how MarJon is looking. Especially the Summer League stuff is fine. Preseason and camp, like with the actual teammates on the Bucks, that's going to matter more.
Go Mamu.
Mamu will probably be active. I mean, I think that's not exactly his position, but we do kind of pencil in Khris and Pat.
Thanasis?
Guys who, I mean, maybe? I'd probably say no.
Wow, you're a hater.
Before, let's do serious starter predictions in a second. But first, what do you think about that? This, again, I don't want to say opportunity and make it sound like it's a good thing that there's injuries, but for MarJon Beauchamp, I've kind of hinted at this, like there's not that many wing minutes to go around. With Ingles and Khris out, there are some, and I do think he'll be able to play a bit, at least in preseason or early regular season. This could be big for him if he's able to step in there, play well, and kind of solidify himself in the rotation with an opportunity that might have not been there if everyone was healthy from the jump.
It's what Jordan Nwora had last year. Just an opportunity to really cement himself in the rotation. He couldn't do that. He failed to do that. Whatever's happening with Jordan Nwora is still really.
I was going to say maybe Jordan Nwora is going to be starting. He's still around the team. I mean, did you see in Eric Name's last piece with Bobby?
No, I haven't read that yet.
It's a good piece. They censored my guy Eric. He clearly said talking shit, and they put in because it's The Athletic talking when they do mailbags or Q&As. So they do talking stuff, and then Bobby's answer, he immediately says talking shit, which tells you that he's using the same term. Free Eric is what I'm saying. But in that piece, he refers to the Bucks players out there in Summer League. Bobby is one, Pat, Javon, and then Jordan Nwora. Is it Javon? I think, yeah.
Javon's out there, yeah.
And Jordan Nwora. And he says who the Bucks are negotiating with in restricted free agency. And I don't know if that's just like a term because he's a restricted free agent. Let me get the exact wording here. But it was something along those lines. It was along those lines. And I was like, now that is interesting.
Interesting.
That right there is interesting to me.
Okay, Bobby. Bobby knew what he was doing when he said that.
No. Eric wrote that.
Oh, Eric wrote that.
Oh, my God. Bobby didn't. Bobby didn't talk about Jordan Nwora.
Oh, okay.
Let me pull up exactly what Eric wrote. Yeah, sorry to be confusing there.
I'm sure you're not confusing. I'm just being dumb.
While Wara remains in restricted free agency negotiations with the Bucks. That could be a turn of phrase. Maybe there's something happening here. I'm fascinated, dude. I don't get it. Are they going to roster 15? Are they going to make a roster move?
I mean, they haven't signed Serge yet.
That's true. That they do need a big at some sort.
Yeah. I don't know. But to get back to the point, it might be Jordan Wara. Who knows? But seriously, there is a major opportunity for Beauchamp here.
Yeah.
If it's a big step, because if you can cement yourself in early, like literally your first like taste of NBA basketball is you being able to step up and play real minutes. That just sets you up for a massive future with the team, especially a team like the Bucks, who seems like they're super high on you.
Yeah.
Just drafted you. We're willing to trade up to get you, according to the team.
Yep.
Multiple
people.
Who knows if that's actually a thing or not? But we'll take them at their word and say that it's true. And you get to actually play rotation minutes. That is an opportunity unlike no other. Because let's say you're a lottery pick or something, you're going to be playing for a bad team. If you can cement yourself as a rookie with a contender like the Bucks, that is a huge career stepping stone for you. So it is a big opportunity.
Yeah, and I do think, that we'll go over the options in a second here, as I mentioned, but if for no other reason, then it's the very beginning of the season. It's not crunch time, locking up a seed. It's not the playoffs. And your options are, you have to basically pick two of you can go big with Bobby, Grayson, Pat, Wes, maybe Javon, who I wouldn't expect that, but those are the other guys. Outside of Javon, who I don't think fits as well, I think makes more sense as a reserve guard for this team. You kind of know what you've got more or less with the rest of the guys. You could start Bobby, you could start Pat, you could start Wes, you could start Grayson. It's all fine. It's all good and well. Nobody needs to see tape on what Grayson Allen looks like in October, right? I think we know. We have a good idea. Same with Wes, certainly same with Pat and Bobby. So at a certain point, I almost wonder if this is you wouldn't bench Khris Middleton to play Beauchamp, obviously, but this is kind of an opportunity for the Bucks to just go, we're just going to start him because it's not going to be a long-term thing. Knock on wood, as you can hear, we hope. But it's not the most consequential of games, and we don't need to see what it looks like when Pat is out there with these guys because we know exactly what Pat does. I do think it makes some sense to have him in as a starter early in the year if Khris is out.
It does make sense. We saw a similar thing happen with Dante. As soon as he was drafted, he was able to play big rotation minutes. So, and that set him up to see rotation minutes at the Bucks' expense a lot of times for as long as he was healthy. It's like he was still starting for the Bucks in last or 2 seasons ago playoffs. That was a thing, and it's because he started getting minutes early on in his career with the Bucks.
Dante started in his 40th or so career game. It did not take long. He played 27 real rotation minutes before he gets hurt in his rookie year. Only doesn't play that many. Then doesn't play much early in the next year. I think he was still hurt. And then once he is able back to playing every game, it took 6 games of not starting before he started. And then it was in and out a little bit. But this is, for all the people who say young players don't play, late second round picks who don't play defense don't play. Dante played, and I think MarJon will play too, especially with some holes in the rotation. But I don't know. Is there any non-MarJon lineup? Because I think we'd all just like to see, and maybe that's putting too much pressure on him. Either way, there'll be more role for him to play, which I think will be interesting and hopefully a fun storyline early. Is there any combo you'd really like to see? We're assuming, I think we can pencil in Drew, Giannis, Brook pretty safely here. What other 2 players do you want to see?
I think probably Grayson West is the safest option.
Yeah. I don't hate that option.
No, because you still got Grayson and his offense, and you still got West and his lockdown defense. You still got that. Yeah, it's basically taking Khris and splitting him into 2
really
players. And I mean, improving on the defensive end a lot. Sorry, Khris. Props to Wes. But,
Yeah.
You're just taking Khris and you're splitting him into two people, and then just spreading it out over two positions.
I do kind of think, and this is going to sound funny because there's a significant portion of Bucks fans who just don't want him on the team. Grayson's kind of really valuable and a little necessary in this situation.
Grayson, okay, here, let me go on a little Grayson.
Yeah.
Grayson had he was overmatched in a series with a team that had like insane wing defenders. Like, okay, sorry, it's not like he can, like, for people saying he's unplayable in the playoffs. Look at the Chicago series. I know it didn't feel like it, but that was the postseason. Like, that was actual postseason basketball, and Grayson Allen was doing great things for this Bucks team. This is going to be year 2 in the system. It's going to be him being more comfortable. Excuse me. It's just, I don't know. I feel like Grayson's set up for a big year. He's still really good. He was the starter for the majority of the season.
Yeah, and I
for
think,
good reason.
I also wonder. I do think a Grayson trade is still possible. And
also,
be.
sorry to interrupt you. We saw Grayson's best games when Khris was out.
Yes,
that was one of our things with Grayson, is he couldn't gel really super well when Drew, Khris, and Giannis are all handling like massive loads. But when one of them went out, Grayson always stepped up.
I mean, literally the first 2 games after Khris goes out, he scores 49 over the 2 games, both in Chicago. Like, there's not nothing there. It's just, I mean, is he a 16-game player? I'd argue probably not, but those guys are still useful, especially in the regular season. And I think, there's been, I think a lot of people have said, by the deadline probably makes more sense with the Ingles injury and just to rehab the value a little bit, because the last time we did see him was the Celtics series. Also, the Bucks clearly knew something was up with Khris, and I think holding on to Grayson in that context especially makes sense for that reason of giving yourself a very dependable, at least regular season offensive option to have. So I think Grayson should start. I think, to me, the question is who else? I could go any direction. I think Wes is the safest. I kind of like Pat there. I think he gives you enough defense and a little more offense. Like, I think that lineup, I guess the new Dos Leches lineup for the Bucks, could be actually like a really potent two-way
soon
group.
Jingles.
Oh, I didn't even realize we have Trey Leches back. Wow, that's exciting. Or Trace Leches.
Get AJ in there.
Get Lindell in there? That wouldn't fit with the theme, but I'm just going on my preferred two-way player thing now. Sorry, AJ Green. You'll have a chance to win me back. This is Summer League overreaction season. We'll have Summer League takes and a pod later on when we've seen a little bit more action. But before we go here, unless you have any last note on Khris or the repercussions or fallout from this, I think overall a pretty well-reasoned emergency pod. We can do a little bit of celebrating. I believe just earlier this evening, the take foul thing was officially announced by the Board of Governors. Congratulations, Giannis, for at least finishing top 2 at MVP this season, probably top 1.
Congrats for the scoring title.
Congrats for the Bucks having probably the most efficient offense in basketball. Every time someone grabs Giannis, the best free throw shooter on the court. I believe that's now been confirmed. It doesn't have to be the player who got fouled. So Giannis gets fouled, and you're sending Grayson Allen to the line every possession. That's pretty, and the Bucks get the ball. This is actually, like, non-ironically, a pretty big deal for Milwaukee. I mean, I think
it is. Also, rip Bozos, the Atlanta Hawks, for
so many reasons. But yes,
but they got DeJounte. I love.
I know I thought that was a good move for them too. At some point, we should. You know what I was thinking would be a fun pod?
An NBA landscape one.
No, you know what I think even better. Top 5 and bottom 5 off seasons.
Ooh.
I think we rank them. That'll be later. I think that's probably post Summer League. Let's get a little deeper. Maybe we'll get some KD resolution. Until it happens, I just don't care, though, quite honestly. But any last thoughts on Khris Middleton's injury outside of course, get well soon, Khris. The Bucks obviously need you, as we saw in the playoffs, but thankfully he will not have to rush back to action or feel any sort of pressure like he did last time.
Yeah, for sure. Get well soon, Khris. Get well, everyone. That's what matters.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think we're done here then, aren't we?
I think that about does it. I almost hit stop recording. It felt like a resolution, but when Rohan Katti's on a pod, there's only one phrase that we end with.
Pod random.
Yeah, we don't have to say it
next.
yet. I mean, we have to do the outro too. It is pod
You,
random.
you said do the phrase. Okay,
No, I
thanks
know.
for listening.
I
Make
just
sure you
hinted at it.
subscribe, do everything, gspn.info, pod random, and we'll talk to you next time.